So I'm here with Bryan Sykes. Now, the title of this hangout is Bryan Sykes and Tom reporting from Washington, and it actually says both reporting from Washington because technically it is true. I am actually right here in Washington, West Sussex, and that's in England. That's where I live. And Bryan, over to you, Bryan. Where are you now?
Washington, D.C. Well, I'm actually in Alexandria, which is just outside of it. But most of the work and people that I'm meeting, I have to go into Washington, D.C.
Lovely, lovely. And you've been there, what, you arrived there this morning and you're doing some crazy shit and stuff?
Yes, late last evening, woke up early this morning and went straight away, went straight to it. I met with the Reserve Association. Washington, D.C., many people don't know, while they're famous for, you know, naturally the politics and that kind of thing, it is also known as the Association and Not-for-Profit or NGO Capital of America because of the lobbying. So, you know, right where I am, around the corner is the Society for Human Resources Management Association. They have a huge office right here in Alexandria, Virginia. The Patent and Trade Office is like a block away. So all these associations are all around Washington, D.C., Southern Maryland, Northern Virginia areas. It's amazing. And that's who I'm tapping into between this week, or this week is already gone, so next week as well.
Brilliant. And are these contacts you've met over a long period of time, you've established, or are some of them new, or what is it, a mix of both?
It's a mix. And what I decided to do was, thanks to yourself and Sam living out loud, I said, what would happen if I did the same thing? So I'm not going to stop refusing business, if you will, but I said, since we're already building the ship as we go, what would happen if I went full-time on this? Instead of drumming up the business for myself, why not say, hey, and just see what happens to kind of spread the message. And so many people that I'm meeting is like, oh yeah, you need to meet with this person, you need to meet with this person. So I'm using network and contacts to get me to the right key person. So it's a series of meetings and meetings and meetings. Tomorrow I actually attend a gala, a fundraiser. So I'll get to shake some hands there. I have to suit up nicely. So I get to suit up nicely. And you know, and just talk about this whole, not just the 13x4, because for me it's bigger than just the programs. It's really about the Successive Engine and what that's doing to really position people and unleash human potential. That's how I'm really looking at it and positioning it and talking about it. And people are like, well, who wouldn't want to unleash human potential? I say, exactly. You know, so I'm talking to some politicians today. And it's very interesting because they have, you know, these very constrained ways of looking at things according to their parties or according to their affiliations and these kinds of things. And so he's telling me about policy. I'm talking to him about people. So we're trying to move in the same direction, but under different concepts.
Isn't it funny? It might be interesting with politicians because it might be a longer road, but if they can see something, because one of the things that you could presumably, I'm sure you're naturally going to do this, is talk about, well, even though it's all about people, right, this kind of approach to life is very much almost like a policy of kind of a process thing, isn't it, really? Because it's almost like implementation is a process. We just happen to have the Greater Life for All code of practice in all the things that we do. But the actual, it's actually a very, very systematic and quantifiable process, almost the sort of thing that you could turn into a policy, the 13x4 system. So it might be interesting to see if they get that, oh, I could control more people like this.
Yeah, that's what they want. Because I explained to him, I said, you know, you have policy, and take for instance this whole idea of gun policy right now.
Yeah.
It's a great idea to have it, but here's the thing: you're not dealing with the condition of the heart, condition of the mind. So you're not dealing with the decision making that pulls the trigger, but yet you have the policy. So I say, what's going to happen is you're going to need another policy, and then you'll have another policy and another policy, because you're never really critters. So he says, yeah. So he says, I get that. I said, okay. And that's what we have here, and we do this all the time. So he says, that's an interesting concept. Whenever someone say interesting, I say, okay, I got them, but they're not fully there yet.
Yeah. And so what are they doing? Are these people that, again, you're hoping that they will lead you again to somebody else, or maybe some of these people would want to employ something like this system in their organization?
In the organizations, they already have, because I never leave any contact without some information on some kind of lead towards the next person. So even if someone say, hey, I can't help you, I always say, do you know of someone who can?
Yeah.
Great, I appreciate your time, but do you know of someone who can? And I move on to the next person, because as you already know me, I appreciate movement more than anything. So the whole static thing doesn't sit well with me. So I have plenty of contacts while I'm here. So I'm hitting the phones early in the morning, then I just grab my bag and head out and go meet with people. But next week I meet with the Office of Personnel Management, which does all of the hiring for the federal government. Next week, I meet with the Veterans Association to talk about their TAP, which is Transition Assistance Program.
And this is a thing that 4 years ago, when you were there last, they agreed that they needed an app or something of that nature. And so it'll be, so how'd you get on with that?
Yeah, exactly. And that was my question. Hey, I just wanted to follow up. It just so happens that I'll be in the Washington, D.C. area. So is it okay if I meet? And they said, oh, yeah, sure. And same thing with the Society of Human Resources. I said, you guys have hundreds of thousands of members. So if it's possible, could I show you an app that I think would be a benefit for your members, and you can beta test it for us, give us some feedback, but it's really just to get something in your hands, and let's talk about the benefit for your members. This association has well over 300,000 members across the United States. They have over 568 chapters across the United States, literally.
This organization?
The Society of Human Resource Management. So, that positions Successive Engine, Reasonable Leadership, Career Mojo, Reasonable Confidence. I can go on down the list of programs.
Yes, perfect, isn't it?
That would fit the store. So that's where we are.
You a little bit. Fantastic. And you have you got friends in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, I have 2 sisters in the area here, so that's where I'm staying. Yeah, so I get to see family while I'm here, so that's good.
Yeah, family double win, fantastic. Well, listen, I won't keep you from that. I just thought it'd be really nice to just do a quick hangout and touch base, and we can obviously talk ourselves. We can talk, and in the VC, in the chat rooms, on the WhatsApp. But I thought it'd be nice for people to know that there's another example of someone living out loud, being the example, taking action, getting out there. I mean, I'm the same as you, Bryan. I just want to devote everything and everything to the future, like building systems and metaphysical artifacts that just help deliver more and more effectively the value. And of course, we'll end up getting paid very well as a result of doing this. But things like Reasonable You, getting that on board, so we've got one place we can go where all the reasonable programs can live. One thing that uses a 13x4, and I've got these people actually building it out, and they've done all this stuff, and they've enabled all the instructors to come and sort of be under the umbrella. So it's effectively our own Udemy platform, really. But it of course be branded within that reasonability. I mean, it's exactly what we wanted to do, right? And it's it's about 2 weeks will be ready. So I'm just getting people now. I'll be sending out instructions for how to get people enrolled, anyone like yourself and all the other architects to sign up as content creators. But we're much more flexible with our own platform because we don't have to follow anyone else's guidelines. Plus, we get to keep the people when they come into our ecosystem. We get to have that relationship with them. So it's really quite nice. And I'm also talking to a group in Australia who set up another platform like this called Vibe Guru, and I think that's quite nice. They actually approached me to do something on eating for them and reasonable eating, but then I said, well, what about a couple of the other programs, you know, reasonable confidence and things like reasonable leadership, and they said, yeah, they're all over it. So again, the way I see it, the more avenues we've got to bring people into awareness more than anything, and to notice and to, as you said, kind of unleash their potential, the more ways we've got of doing that, the more regenerative it's going to be. I was talking about, just going to finish off with this idea of like the physics in energetic terms of traditional teaching compared to online teaching. And let's say I teach you something and we spend an hour together. Okay, I'm calling that a teaching and learning event, because I teach, you learn. That's fantastic. So let's say I teach 25 kids at a time for an average of maybe 4 hours a day. So that's 100 events a day, but I do maybe 200 days a year. So that's quite a lot. That's 200,000. No, 120,000 in a year, teaching and learning events. I do that for 20 years, and it's like 400,000 teaching and learning events. Now, that's great, but think of the physics of the energetic consumption involved in delivering that 400,000 events. Every single student had to travel from one physical location, their house, to another physical location, their school. Right? I had to travel there every single day, and I had to move. Think of the fossil fuels and all the energy that's consumed. What's another train?
Yeah, it's all night long.
Think of the cost of building a school building. Think of the cost of all the health and safety issues and all the concerns and maintenance and all that sort of stuff. And then think of the real learning that took place with all those students over those 20 years. And then you think, well, from now on, as a result of doing all that, and all that energy and money and all these physical resources being spent, what have we got to show for it? Well, I've got experience, which is great, and the kids, hopefully, and the students over that period of time, and the adults that I've worked with, will hopefully have learned something. But what's the ongoing, where's the machine that delivers ongoing value as a result of those 20 years? That's the beauty of setting up like our own online learning systems and our own app-based delivery systems on our own Reasonable University, Reasonable U program. Because it's like, it might be a fair bit of work to get the program set up, but once they're gone, they're machines that literally consistently and continuously deliver value while we sleep. And what's the real cost of that? Nobody has to move anywhere. It's an internet connection. If you wanted to educate the world in the next 30 years, bring education to everybody, you wouldn't be building schools and getting everyone to go to schools. Look, let's just build infrastructure, you know, like the Google Cloud type balloons,
Yeah.
Guy Mandis's, you know, nanobots that are transmitters and all that sort of stuff. And just the huge beneficial in terms of energetics of delivering learning and disseminating information through the online system brings greater life for all. And I was just thinking,
Absolutely.
it's cool. I'm up for it.
Yeah.
I think we'll replace the experience of being in the room with somebody. But
And that's where everything is going, if you think about it. It's already moving in that direction. Unfortunately, many of the institutions themselves are not, and they're slow to catch on. So this is really, really big. I just hope people truly understand how big this is. You know, I was looking at the stats, and I think I told you that before, where they said 3.4 billion people are going to be moving online over the next 10 to 15 years.
that's a lot.
Billion. That's a lot of people to tap into that are going to be looking for something.
Yeah.
And we have this opportunity to really serve them, creating this regenerative net value, create a platform where there's a continuous process of value generation. What can be higher than that?
or nothing. And that's why we're really excited, both of us, about being involved in it. And I love the. I mean, I like making crazy predictions. I mean, just because I like to, look back and think most of them are completely idiotic, and I'm not even close. But there's a lot of things that I was pretty good at actually. When I came back from Hong Kong in about 2005, I said that Apple should make a phone, and all my friends laughed at me. Said, what? This is a long time ago. Another thing, when I was at school, when all my friends were into the cool music and I was into Queen and the Beatles,
Yeah.
because I liked harmonies and I liked good songs, I didn't care about fashion, right? So I predicted, I said, look, in 10 years' time, people aren't going to remember Catch a Goo Goo and these bands that you're into. Queen are going to be like one of the most successful bands, and they're a bunch of gays and all this sort of stuff. So, well, the biggest selling record of any British artist is Queen's Greatest Hits, right? So,
Exactly.
hey, I've made a lot of predictions that were completely wrong. But I genuinely think by 2030, schools will not exist. Schools, and that people will think, well, that's crazy. No, they've got to, because I tell you what, I'd be very surprised. The pace of accelerating the rate of technology and the impact it's making, and the net value and increase, and the lack of respect in a way for traditional sort of certification, all these things will combine. And I'd be very surprised if schools in the conventional sense, there'd still be bodies organizing learning and helping people learn, and still be systems for people to be able to prove what they've done in a way, and maybe portfolio-based things like that. But I guarantee, well, and that sounds crazy because that doesn't sound very long. What, 16 years? Oh my goodness, an awful lot can happen in 16 years.
Oh, it's very possible. Very possible. I was part of a group one time, and we should actually do a campaign for Greater Life for All. We had called the campaign, and I'm not even sure what happened to it. We had called it Gen V 2020. So it was Generation Value 2020. And the key was to get 100 million people over the next 20 years to embrace this concept of the process of continuous value generation. And we call it the net value question. The net value question says, what choices can I make? What action can I take in this moment to create the greatest net value? And we were trying to get 100 million business leaders, lay leaders, civic leaders to adopt this as a lifestyle principle for how they run their businesses and for how they run their home. But we did not have the follow through as we do with Architect Group, a cohort that would certainly take a campaign as that and really live it out. So the campaign just dropped. But I thought it's still
Those are brilliant questions.
I think it is, and it's a question that you don't necessarily have to have the answer, but it positions you for the net value. That's the key, and that's what Greater Life for All is. It positions you to create it, whether you want to or not. Because if you just think of that question, you have to stop.
Yeah.
And you literally have to think about what you're doing, how you're thinking and acting creates Greater Life for All.
Yeah. No, I think there's many brilliant things that, because they haven't got a good enough system, kind of just gradually wither on the vine. And it's not because they're bad, but it's because people's lives change, and somebody gets married, and then someone moves away, and somebody does this. And we didn't have the ability to reach out to people for free anywhere in the world instantly. When you were doing that, okay, you might have had, I'm sure you had email and stuff like that, but you just didn't have that same sort of like the WhatsApp type group functionality. And so, but this is what I think. It was perfect for the time. It was perfect for every single one of these people that you interacted with will have taken something away. There will be some residue in that. And it prepared you for what you're doing now. And it will have prepared them for what they're doing now. And, they won't forget that sort of stuff. They'll remember. Yeah. And when they see this kind of gradually permeating in a non-obvious way. If we become really obvious and completely, out in the open, which is possible, that will be interesting, an interesting challenge, because I much prefer to grow like an organism, which, like, which no one can really see, but all of a sudden it sort of has taken a hold of just about everywhere. It'll be interesting if we get two. I mean, I'm happy to try. Let's an experiment. Let's try getting too popular and see what happens. But
Yeah, yeah.
I'd be interested in seeing what that does, and it'd be interesting to see what that does to us as individuals. Because it's not going to be very long before. I mean, the Reasonable Wealth Project is a 13-year project which started this year, right? So that's built into that grandiose kind of 13-year ambitious, super crazy project is the fact that you know that something is going to be going in the background week by week, cycle by cycle for 13 years, and every 13 weeks we're going to be assessing it and looking and thinking, well, how far have we come, what have we done? And obviously the app, now that we've got the apps, it will make all of that side of things automatic, which is fantastic. But, who knows, now that these sorts of things that we're doing, by 2030, why couldn't we have, clean water, abundant energy, and no schools by that? I mean, there's absolutely no reason. There's so much information. There's a 12-year-old boy on YouTube who knows anything you need to know.
Exactly, and if you read in Diamante's book, he talks about the cell phone penetration in Africa. Right now it's at 40%, but it's going to be 70% over the next 15 years. And said a person with a smartphone in Africa has more access to information than when President Clinton was in office back in 1996. They have more information than the president.
Well, the president, Clinton, couldn't do what we're doing now.
Exactly.
I mean, with all the resources, it would have been the ability to just literally he'd have had to have a team of people organising it and stuff like that, and expensive systems and stuff like that. And 30, 40 years ago, it wasn't even possible. It's like telex. Do you remember telex?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Right. And even the fax machine was pretty spiffy when that came out. The fax machine is amazing. But anyway, I'm going to let you go and have some time with your family now and your sisters. And I'm going to go to bed pretty much, actually. I've got one more of those videos to nut out. Hey, you like the style of those videos?
Oh, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. Loved it. I put Pop App and the whole thing on my iPad now too. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's where the demonstration happened, right? So on the iPad, just flip it up. It's like, hey, look at this. I'm sliding away. It was awesome.
Oh, it's so fun. But I think the trick is it's time effectiveness. So it takes me a little bit of time to work these things out. But once I know, then I'll be able to tell people, hey, look, this is the most time effective way to do stuff. And, I can nut out these videos really quite quickly now. So, for example, that idea of, say, you and Sam doing a discussion, and I'm listening onto the call, but nobody's having to share files and use up additional bandwidth. You can just save that for the video. But on my screen, which has also been captured, is the crap that I'm doodling, over the top of the slides that you've already sent me to just add a bit of focus to it. That could be really cool. I mean, it could be really,
it's so simple. According, the whole setup and things that we've been doing, has just been. We did what we needed to do to make it happen, but at the same time, there was a lot involved in it.
Yeah. All right, let's choose easy. And also, we believe that there will be an easy way. That's the thing. I believe that there will be a simple way to do it. So I hunted out. I used to use those, it's called Video Scribe technology, which is kind of...
Yeah.
And I got into that last year, and I was doing a lot of those, but they would literally take me all day to do like 1 minute of final stuff. Well, I mean, I could probably have got faster over time, but because you had to build these transitions, and what happened is they ended up all looking a bit the same, kind of everywhere. I mean, it's a cool look, but what I want to do is not be able to, or to be in a position where you're creating something which exists outside of time as much as possible. So you don't go, oh yeah, that was really popular in the 90s or something like that.
Yeah.
Creating good music which has harmony and tune and natural instrumentation will never go out of fashion. Like, you don't listen to Miles from the 50s and think, oh yeah, it's a bit dated.
Yeah.
Jazz. Yeah. You don't. Whereas you might listen to Duran Duran in the 80s and think, yeah.
Oh, I love Duran Duran.
Yeah, me too. But it's very much of that era, isn't it? In fact, Rio is one of my favourite albums of all time. Brilliant. Brilliant album. But yeah, so it's nice. So if we do things which are our own style, then they can exist outside of time, but outside of fashion.
And this comes right, at right on time because Reasonable You is coming up and people are getting courses together. So this is right on time. Okay. It literally is. This is good.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay, buddy, I'm going to crack on with some more of that shit.
All right.
We'll be in touch. I'll probably hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, be well.
Cheers, buddy.
Bye.
Bye.